Good Morning Winter Park is brought to you by Cooper Creek Square in the heart of downtown Winter Park.
Good morning to the folks at the Granby Chamber of Commerce. Once again, a big thanks for all your support and being one of our key sponsors. Back here hanging out, talking budgets, blowing minds here with Commissioner Merrit Linke, long-term local once again.
Blowing minds.
Yeah, blowing my mind, I guess, some days.
There's a lot to it, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's complicated. You guys have a lot of responsibility, a lot to think about. And
a lot of pieces to the puzzle, that's right.
Yeah, and
that's
as we talk about challenges with the budget and cuts and stuff, there's always someone losing and someone winning. It's a lot. You guys have to do a lot of juggling. So it's in a way great that there's three minds that you guys can bounce ideas off each other, and it doesn't all come down to one person to have to make these tough decisions.
And it gets down to some philosophical decisions. What things are important to Grand County? What do you believe in? What things should we provide services? What things are we required to provide service for by statute, and at what level? So it's tough to get all those pieces kind of lined up and see what direction you're going to go in terms of a long-term kind of a forecast.
So on our end of the county, I live in Fraser. The ski resort's a big part of my life and work and all that jazz. Obviously, we're pretty close-minded. Grand County is tourism, it's skiing, it's mountain biking. There's a lot more use to the pie. What's the revenue that comes? Is it 1% tax?
1% county-wide sales tax is all that. Maybe the direct effect from sales that are tourist-related.
So our sales tax in Winter Park, we're doing 2% for the bus system. So there's, a county in general for all the roads, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And so our end of the county is just a small piece of the pie when it comes to revenue that you guys are generating for your budget.
That's true. Sales tax is probably only about 15%, and don't quote me on that number, but that's pretty close. It's a smaller piece of the pie.
Less than a quarter.
It's the biggest part of our pie, budget pie, is obviously property tax valuation, private property, commercial property, and so forth. That's the bigger part of our total budget. Sales tax, the 1% sales tax, which is tourist related, like you said, is a smaller piece of the pie.
And county-wise, on a property tax, what percent would you be making off, if I have a property that's $100,000, what am I paying, collectively to try and get all that money?
What are you paying?
Yeah, in percentage form, if you own commercial or private.
That's a good question. I don't know that exact rate for your property based on $100,000. I don't know what that tax rate would be. That would probably be an assessor question to get that exact
So that's different throughout the county versus commercial?
Yeah, there's some different locations and so forth, but that would be, and different districts do have different mill levy assessments, depends on what district you live in. Rec districts, water and sand districts, all those add up.
A lot of components
that affects your tax bill. To get the exact number, you'd have to probably talk to the assessor.
And so let's talk about forecasting the budget and looking towards the future.
Right.
So, are you guys looking at revenues from last year, making decisions, and assuming kind of that for the next year, or how do you go forward, I guess?
Well, there's certainly a lot of factors that go into that projection. None of it, of course, is 100% accurate. We know that most of the properties are still going to have a similar value. Property tax gets reevaluated every 2 years. So you're always the same for 2 years in a solid. 2015 was an evaluation year. So we'll be kind of stuck with that for another 2 years until we get another reevaluation period. So that's pretty steady. It's been declining. We obviously took a big dip in 2008, came into being, and so that's fairly steady. We kind of know what that is. What we don't know as much is the kind of revenue that we get from that smaller piece of the pie from the sales tax, because that industry is primarily tourist-driven. So that's all the towns reporting great increases in the sales tax for the towns, and that's great news. And I think the associated benefit from that is when those things are happening, when retail stores are doing great and they're making sales and sales tax is up, that incites people to say, hey, I could make a living here, I could buy a house here, I could build a house here. Mm-hmm. So then that gets us into a more steady position where those things are leveling out some of those bumps that we see in terms of revenues coming in.
So you mentioned 2008 when everything tanked. You must have saw major revenue go down.
It was about a 29% change in valuation when that.
And obviously, when you were budgeting for that priorly, you couldn't forecast that.
We didn't know. Nobody really saw that one coming, or at least not as much as it was.
How do you handle that then? You've got projects on they need to get done.
Yeah, there were some projects.
The money's not coming in.
That's right. There were certainly some projects that we're working on. Some were very valuable projects, and we prioritized to continue with some of those projects. But we're at a point now where we're not looking at any projects coming up. We're going to look at maybe making some cuts that aren't necessarily going to change services, but make us more efficient. If we can provide the same level of service with maybe a fewer number of people or whatever expenses that we can streamline. We've combined some departments. We've worked with all of our departments individually to develop some long-term budget strategies so that we can help to carry that thing out for 2 and 3 years and get to a balanced budget. That's really our goal.
So what's the cause of the most recent shortfall, or is that still 2008
I think it's
hangover?
it's really the 2008 hangover, and there was probably some expenditures that some bigger projects that we did that
some things need to get done.
Some things need to get done, and I believe that we made the best decisions based on the information.
We talked about we had the dump. Or was it the dump was kind
landfill?
Of landfill. I'm sorry. Was
in Granby, that's right.
That was something unexpected that came up that had.
That
to be
was,
addressed.
but that required some money to be spent, and I think that we have that stabilized now. And the plan that we have in place was basically to eliminate water from getting into that slip plane that was causing it to slide down the hill. We did kind of a fix with kind of an innovative approach with putting a big cover over it, basically to keep groundwater out of it. Oof. And it seems like it's really working. It's
so
better,
it is.
Yeah, it's better than spending $20 or $30 million to do some kind of
those
a
numbers
huge,
are baffling.
Yeah, I mean it was crazy.
And Highway 9 project we just wrapped up or wrapping up. So that's
was
another
a big
huge
one. That
one.
was a public-private partnership that had widespread, diversified county support to get that project done. It was a very worthwhile project, but yes, it cost a lot of money. But on the other hand, I saw it as an investment. The county basically spent just a little over $3 million to get a $50 million project in the county. So to me, that was probably a good use of county funds.
All right. You got time for hang around for one more little
Sure.
round here? We're going to take a quick break, and
right.
we'll talk a little more about the future and what the future holds for Grand County.
Sounds good.
All right. We'll be back shortly with Merrit Linke, and once again, a big thanks to the Grand Beach Chamber of Commerce, right in the heart of something grand. We'll be back.